I turned it pretty good. I think it just got caught. I don't think I stepped on anybody. I'm not sure from the replay, but hard, especially when, I felt like I kind of started the game off good and then you get hurt.
They don't realize how much experience in the playoffs really comes into account when you're playing a playoff game.
Caitlin Clark came to the attention of ESPN media after she conducted an interview that was deemed contentious. From calling the most ridiculous fouls on her to simply forgetting she exists when it comes to MVP talk, they have basically been trying to trip her up since the very beginning of the season. I'm talking about an entire media empire that is hunting for a single player as if it were their full-time job. Isn't that wild? And ESPN really believed that they could continue to toy with Caitlin Clark without anyone noticing her. Sorry, but not at this time. What is this most recent prank in the playoffs? Simply said, it is an injustice. In spite of the fact that she often just takes everything in stride, Caitlin didn't hold back. After her playoff game, she reached her breaking point and felt compelled to confront them. When Caitlin Clark played in the very first game of the WNBA postseason that she had ever participated in, I am not going to place a great deal of blame on her. As for the Fever, how are they going to win a game in Connecticut? Due to the fact that if they are successful in winning one and bringing this matter back to Gamebridge, then this is now a genuine series. In the beginning, we are going to discuss the specific manner in which ESPN went into full villain mode after the first game. They proceeded to place the whole blame for the defeat on Caitlin Clark as if they actually had it written down beforehand. The level of predictability that they have reached at this time is almost ludicrous. We are all aware that the media has a strong preference for the scapegoat. Nevertheless, this time they were so transparent about it that it seemed as though they were not even attempting to be slick. Can you predict who is going to be held accountable for the fact that the game does not go Iowa's way? Obviously, Caitlin Clark is the one. The eye damage is the reason for her poor performance, but they completely ignore it for the sake of convenience. I'm talking about the kind of thing that, if it were any other player, would be the subject of headline television, whereas ESPN. Not at all. They are far too preoccupied with attempting to put their Caitlin Clark tales under narrative. This is really absurd. Regrettably, they are unable to comprehend the fact that Caitlin Clark is not a typical player. If we are talking about someone, we are talking about someone who each time she comes onto the court is essentially rewriting the playbook. There is a sports person who can drop 40 points as easily as she can order French fries. Just in passing, it's not a big deal. The fact that she is able to make deep threes from such a distance that even NBA veterans are scratching their heads is astonishing. The female has the ability to score from virtually any location, and she manages to make it appear as though it is the simplest thing in the world. Really, do you believe that she was under a lot of pressure? Who has a seamless approach to the game of basketball? Who is able to shoot long-range shots, who is able to make excellent passes, and who is able to handle the ball efficiently? Many individuals are coming to participate in a form of play that is comparable to that. Let's step back for a moment and be honest. This was her greatest game, right? It was not the case. That was not her. Can we take a moment to discuss the reason behind this? A direct elbow was given to her by DJ and Carrington, and it was not subtle in any way. Anyone who was watching could see that the girl's eye was messed up, and it was obvious that it was harming her performance. However, ESPN continues to act as if it never took place. In light of the fact that it appears to be simpler to simply describe her as having choked rather than actually, state the facts, the injury is a relatively insignificant element. The response from ESPN was, oh, she's crumbling. Despite the fact that it was clear that she was having a difficult time on the court, you could clearly see her straining. It is the epitome of journalists who exercise discretion. They made the decision to disregard the injuries since it did not fit into their juicy little plot about her inability to perform well under pressure. To a certain extent, it is predictable. They paid no attention to it at all. And do you know what was even more unfortunate than that? Telephoned her. No, you did not misunderstand me. It is also important that we do not behave in a manner that would have resulted in the same outcome if it had been any other participant. In addition, Angel Reese had a wrist injury when she was playing, and the way in which the media portrayed her as an exceptional athlete during her career. Despite the fact that she is not even a rookie, the conclusion of her debut season. However, nobody cared to express concern for Caitlin's well-being by uttering a few words of concern. If it was the eye damage that hindered her performance, or if it was something else entirely, what uttered their words? She was under a lot of duress. Total and utter nonsense. To tell you the truth, it's hard to believe that ESPN felt they could just easily blame everything on Clark, to which no one would respond in any way. In addition to completely disregarding the eye damage, they fabricated the story in such a way as to give the impression that she was unable to cope with the pressure, and they anticipated that everyone would cooperate automatically. On the other hand, the fans were not going to allow that to happen. The narratives that ESPN told were completely transparent to them, and they called them out on it. Because, let's face it, the media has always been biased in the way that they have represented Caitlin Clark, and this was simply the most recent manifestation of that bias. What is the sole distinction? When it came to this matter, people were not keeping quiet about it. Additionally, let's not forget about the snub that ESPN went through, because it's not a one-time event. Since quite some time ago, they have been giving Caitlin a disrespectful treatment. Do you remember when she led Iowa to one of the most incredible seasons in the history of the sport, but ESPN carelessly removed her from the cover of the magazine and also failed to recognize her as the most valuable player on the list? May I be excused? What are you going to do? You have a player who is smashing records and making history right in front of you, and you are going to act as if she is not there. However, if another player fails to score 20 points in a game, they will suddenly be in the spotlight. Caitlin's name appears to be at the bottom of the list of those who should be in the spotlight, as if ESPN has a checklist of people who deserve to be in the spotlight. Not to mention, don't even get me started on the whole thing with the foul call. During the game, Caitlin hits the stanchion, which results in a quick foul with no hesitation. Nevertheless, when Carrington almost elbowed her in the face, there was no accusation of wrongdoing and there was no anger from the media. It appears like ESPN simply decided that it was not worth covering and went on. There is a clear example of double standards. Fans were also able to see it, and they did not keep quiet about it. The number of people who took to Twitter to criticize ESPN for consistently downplaying Caitlin's accomplishments while extolling the achievements of others for far less was enormous. I'm trying to explain how DeJohnny's hand could flex and still go straight into Caitlin's eye after she had missed the target. DeJohnny's Carrington jabbed Caitlin Clark in the eye during the first 2 minutes of the first-round playoff game between the Connecticut Sun and the Indiana Fever. The game came in the first round of the playoffs. The play continued despite the fact that Caitlin had fallen to the ground while holding her face. The referees did not call a foul, and they did not call a flagrant foul. But now a lot of people on the internet are requesting the WNBA to evaluate this play because, as a result of the fact that this play has been analyzed from a variety of perspectives, it appears as though it may have been done on purpose. This issue is being noticed by more than just the fans, that's for sure. Even some of the most well-known critics have been criticizing ESPN for their questionable coverage of the event. Rachel Anna Marie, Stephen A. Smith, and Jason Whitlock are just few of the people who have shared their thoughts, despite the fact that Stephen A. stated unequivocally that Clark's interviews were a wonderful example of accountability and leadership. ESPN entirely disregarded this in order to forward their own agenda that was loaded with drama. As a matter of fact, it is rather astounding that ESPN is more interested in stirring up nonsense than it is in covering the actual facts. Whitlock even pointed out that her calm manner was a virtue, not a sign of weakness. What about Rachel? By tweeting that it is disheartening to watch the media attempting to fabricate a story out of nothing when Clark has been nothing but professional. She was not even subtle about her feelings over the matter. The action is not a natural one. In addition, I pointed it out the day before while I was watching the game in real time. But hey, it was done on purpose. With only 4 of 17 shots from the field, Clark was only able to score 11 points. She was only able to hit 2 of 13 shots from beyond the arc, and to make matters even worse, she concluded the game with a black eye after being poked by Carrington, who was attempting to steal her shot. Caitlin Clark has been out here shattering records like it's her full-time job, both in college and now in her rookie season with the Indiana Fever. She has been doing this for nearly the entirety of her existence. In all seriousness, this girl has been a highlight reel in her own right. It was not enough for her to simply play in the WNBA in 2024. She also made history. She smashed the previous single-season record of 316 assists that Alyssa Thomas held, which she had previously held, and she led the entire league in assists with an incredible 337. In addition to that, she became the player who hit 100 three-pointers in the shortest amount of time, which was only 34 games. This accomplishment was accomplished by her. Let that settle in for a moment. There are 34 games. Simply put, Who does that? Furthermore, in addition to this, there was a tenfold rise in the number of fans that attended, which was compared to the average of 7,645. Please take a look at this right now. There are 15,591 fans here to see Caitlin Clark perform. When compared to the typical game, which is 7,645, this is a 105% gain. What about the scoring? Oh, she understands that. During her tenure at the university, she amassed more than 3,600 points throughout the course of her career, making her the all-time leading scorer in NCAA Division I women's basketball. She accomplished this by casually smashing records left and right. To add insult to injury, she also established a new NCAA record for the most three-pointers made in a single season with 156 because, well, why not? It is not surprising that people are unable to get enough of her. Due to the fact that her jerseys and other gear have been selling like hotcakes, she has emerged as one of the most successful sellers in the WNBA this season. Caitlin Clark is not just shattering records, she's also essentially taking control of the situation. The fact that they are currently populating the WNBA at this time is undoubtedly due to Caitlin Clark, who is selling out games. And did you know that the Indiana Fever are selling out games at a higher rate than the Pacers are performing? They are able to sell out television ratings, ratings for all-star games, ratings for opening night, and ratings for the WNBA draft wherever they travel. We are aware of the current time. After the first game, when she had the opportunity to point fingers and provide the media with the precise drama they were expecting for, she chooses to do something else instead. She maintains her composure and calmness. Her eyes are obviously messed up and everyone is watching her. She has had a difficult game and everyone is watching her. It would have been so simple for her to remark something along the lines of, yeah, maybe that eye injury had something to do with it. Or she could have taken a jab at the media for consistently exaggerating the severity of the situation. Not at all. She had no intention of providing them with that feeling of fulfillment. She had a hopeful attitude and anticipated that she would win game 2. What truly differentiates her from others is the quiet confidence she exudes. In an effort to diminish her, the media may attempt to portray her modesty as a sign of weakness. So who are the true fans? They are aware of the truth. The fact that they recognize her power and her capacity to soar above the din is the reason why they remain faithful to her. Simply put, Caitlin Clark does not require the approval of ESPN in order to be great. And to tell you the truth, that probably drives them insane. Not only that, but she's the reason why people are flocking to see the WNBA. The question is, why is ESPN so determined to disregard Clark's opinion? Is it because her attitude, which is calm and sensible, does not fit with their story of the crumbling star being destroyed? Alternatively, could it be that the drama is more popular and they would rather spin that story than give her the respect that she has proven she deserves? It is very obvious that ESPN's coverage is not about telling the truth, regardless of the circumstances. Providing sustenance to a plot is it.